Welcome. I am Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Lately, I have been doing a lot of talk, and I'm here with my mom. And Mama, are you able to get the audio into? Because I can hear you coming back. Because I can hear you through the mic or something. I know. So we did not get that part fixed before, but if there's a way for it to come in through headphones, I think just the output. But, I am really glad to be joined with my mom for this topic. She really focuses a lot on mindset, and lately we have been talking about Emma Daybell, Garth Daybell, and the children of Chad Daybell, and anyone that's coming out of a high control or high demand family or group. What are some tips to heal if you're leaving a group like that? I also watched the 7M documentary where they were talking about there are allegations that there's a TikTok cult that and it's like this church plus talent management that somehow ends up taking a lot of the individual's money, and it ends up just causing all of these issues. And so, Mama, if you can go on ahead and say hi.
Hello, everybody. Is that better?
So something is still because can you hear me coming through your headphones or no? Like, am I coming through the headphones or is it
You're not.
yeah, yeah.
It's still coming through the mic.
Yep, so you
Let
might
me.
have to you you might have to go to settings. And so let us just work out this technical issue. It didn't come up until we pressed live, of course. Let us know if you all have questions related to this topic because I think this will be really, really helpful as we're looking at healing from that type of coercive control, healing from that type of manipulative environment. And so we are good with audio. Mama, if you can go on ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Johnny with Johnny Gordon Associates. I am the mindset maven. And the key with that is mindset is transformative. And so I do neural change, neuroscience, and transformation development. And I merge them together because they make a huge difference. It helps people understand the gap between what they know and what they do. What is the connection to that? And it also allows them to move forward in in their lives in such a way that it empowers them, not from just their history, but to look for their destiny, but enjoy today, the nowness of it.
Wow. And I love that you said that because when an individual leaves a cult like or high demand group, they often are confused. They often have to find themselves again. They have to find what is truth. They often question themselves because sometimes there can be the shame that, because it's often that they willingly joined a group but the group always starts with some type of lie or some type of I don't know, like there's this manipulation that when they look back at it, you can see it from the very start and how they were isolating people from their families and just the techniques that are commonly used in groups like this. And so what did you want to add related to that?
Well, what they do is they alter the perception, right? And then they tap into what your desire is. Like if you don't know your goals and your aspirations, or you're looking for a community, they tap into that. And like Patrice just said, what they sometimes do is they come in under stealth and say that this is what they are. And by the time you figure it out, you're in. And then they tap into the fear of losing the community, the fears of all of those things. And they keep on drawing you closer and closer into this situation. And it's almost like they take over your mindset. But this is the deal with neuroplasticity. Your mind can shift and change and mold based on what you're going through. So just like you went in and your mind refigured, reconfigured. When you come out, you have to go through the reconfiguring process.
Mama's over here dropping technical terms because neuroplasticity is the fact that our brains are capable of change, that our brains are not fixed, that our brains are capable of of change. And so even if there has been trauma, even if there has been all of these things that have happened, that you can shift. You can change your thinking, but the first step is that the person has to leave. And mama, we have a really powerful question because this is so true that the family is caught in a rock and between, I think that's how they normally say that phrase,
Between a rock and a hard place.
between a rock and a hard place. How does a family manage their mental wellness while their adult child is still there? And one of the hardest things is if you tell somebody that they're in a cult, their first reaction is to say, "No, I'm not. This is exactly what the group said you would say. This is why the group didn't want me to talk to you. This group is" like you can't tell them you're in a cult. There are specific deprogramming, like there are these groups that are trained in how to ethically and safely deprogram someone, and it's often not with a family member, it's with licensed professionals. It's with this other team of people before they come back to their family. So if someone is taken without their permission, so if they're kidnapped and they're held for a period of time before they're released to their family, they often go through this process because you can have Stockholm syndrome. Like it is true that you can start to develop because the person that kidnapped them might not have been evil the entire time. There might have been I don't like there might have been some confusing things that happened. I get really concerned when people have been indoctrinated since they were children because they know nothing outside of this group. They know nothing outside of this cult. And there are resources on YouTube and I have resources linked in the description as well that describe these high demand groups. And that's where I like the language of high demand versus cult or high control versus cult. 'Cause it's like, it seems like they control a lot. Like, it seems like but sometimes you can't give them feedback at all. Sometimes you just have to rebuild the relationship and work with somebody that helps free them from that, like, is very knowledgeable in this type of thing. And I do wanna shout out another YouTube channel, Dine in Psychology. She specializes in helping people heal from cult-like, harm, and so, her channel has some resources and tools as well. Mama, what did you wanna add?
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to add was just to reiterate one piece. Remember, Patrice talked about the fact that sometimes you're deprogrammed. You go into a group and they help you to shift back because they're trying to reconnect you
Yeah,
to the truth, right? Because the way you have looked at things, the people in the cult have looked at things, was not the truth. It was almost propaganda. It was information that was fed to them as the truth. So you want to help them by facilitating a specialized therapy. So get them help. Now that's after they're out. Now the question was kind of what happens when they're in. Show them love, show them
yeah.
compassion, give them a sense of embrace, not embrace what they're doing, but embracing them because that's an action. They're a person, so
Because
make sure you embrace them.
the cult will often tell them your family will not love you or they won't accept you the way you are now. Without and that's really twisted because it's not accepting them the way they are now, it's not being okay with them quitting their job and working 20 hours a week for free for this group and giving their entire life savings over like that's the part that the family wasn't was really upset with. It wasn't their loved one, but when they are in that group, it's their beliefs are completely warped, and that's where sometimes just loving them where they are and supporting them where they are can be a place that you start. This is just general information, and so for anybody that is involved in any type of situation like this, I would connect with a professional in your area because it would be very normal for that family member to experience grief. And one of the hardest things to grieve is a living person because
Mm.
sometimes it feels like you've lost them, but they're still here, but you can't reach them. They're not who they used to be, and that can be a very, very painful thing, and so sometimes having your own person can be really important.
Yeah. And then the self empowerment. Help encourage them to be self empowered, not tell them what's wrong, but remind them, oh, hey, do you paint anymore? In this thing that you're doing, let's say they love to do those things. What do you paint anymore? What about singing? Do y'all sing? Remember, you love to sing, just to trigger
Who
them
they were.
in their subconscious mind, to remind them of who they are at a deeper level, because they're dealing with the conscious, they're being reprogrammed at the subconscious level, right? And the key is to embrace, to affirm not what they're doing, affirm them. And then the other thing is to remember that, hey, we're here to support you. So the key with that is, a lot of times, like Patrice mentioned, is they separate them. And they separate them and they tell them, nobody, if you're not here with us, this is going to happen. But this is the interesting thing about a cult and for control groups. They still have an hierarchy of power.
Yes.
They bring the resources in and they have a hierarchy of power, and they distribute based on their decision, not based on necessarily your needs,
And
what you
often
think
the
your needs are.
and often the level of influence they wanna have over a person, because sometimes they will give somebody, especially someone who's very smart, because I want to break that stereotype that somebody has to be naive to join a cult or that they have to be, that they're not intelligent. No, 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 like very smart people, very people that have good self-esteem. Like they didn't come in with any major issues, but they might have been seeking internal peace. They might have been seeking salvation or something, and then the cult kinda twists things over time. It doesn't start with
Mhm,
the worst possible stuff. It's a slow like, they slowly turn up the heat, and at first, it just is like, "Huh, this is kinda strange. Huh," and then it just kinda keeps getting worse and worse, and so, yeah.
yeah, and I'm gonna use a natural example. If you had a frog and you had the water already boiling, the frog would immediately jump out. However, if you put the frog in the water and you let the temperature continue to rise, the frog will be your meal. It's going to stay and it's not going to jump out because it's happening gradually. And then remember that cults hijack your brain. They hijack your brain's reward system. They reward you for little things at first, and they keep on, and because they're pulling you in, they're pulling you in. So when people that love you start trying to pull you out, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, this is good for me. So you have to be careful again with that. And then
And
there's a big difference. Oh, go ahead. Mhm.
no, 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 go ahead.
The other thing I was going to mention is a high control, a high control environment versus a cult. Is if you would take that high control environment and you put it on steroids, that would be the difference between the two as a cult.
What do you mean by that? I think
Okay, high, for an example, a high control. It may say it's they can be in an open setting. A cult is undercover. They're not going to be out there. So then
so
the other thing, oh, go ahead.
because of the internet and how
Good
people
point.
can be out but not, does that make sense? So now there are cults with YouTube channels.
Wow.
They are not
That's right.
underground anymore. They're, and they wouldn't call themselves that. Does that make sense? They wouldn't consider
They're not
themselves,
calling themselves a cult.
but they have
They're just
all of the characteristics of to where they recruit people, because that was a group that I covered that recruited people on their YouTube channel, and they used to live stream, and it was about finding inner peace and healing, but you had to, like, tell them all of your deepest, darkest secrets. A lot of the cults that I've heard about, there's this confession aspect where they want to know all of your weaknesses, but then they use that if you ever leave, they know, "Ooh, you did this crime that nobody knows about," or nobody knows that this person harmed you, or that they hold that over them later.
Against you. That's a good point. Thank you.
Um, and Lisa, so I'm not sure what the cyber kidnapping scam is. I have heard of sexploitation, that's a big thing with teens or kids even, where somebody reaches out and they try to get them to like send them something inappropriate, and then they threaten to tell their parents and they extort them for money. Yeah, witness said they blackmail you, and they hold those things against you later. And that's the difference between something like that and a therapist, because if a client said, "Oh, I'm done with services. I don't want to meet with you anymore." I wouldn't be like, "Ooh, I'm going to tell your I don't like I'm going to tell all your deepest darkest secrets." It's like, "No, okay. If you don't want to meet anymore, that's not a problem." And I think the safest relationships involve choice. You are here because you want to be here. You choose to be here. Now, there are some times where really sophisticated groups will create the illusion of choice, where because if you leave, you lose all of
Mm.
your friends. You lose the money that you've invested. You lose the community that you have. And so, yes, you can leave, but like it feels like you can't.
And what they typically do is they've stripped your individuality first,
Yes.
and then they put you in this, right, this, I'm gonna call it a bubble, with
Mhm.
this is your community, we are the ones who support you, we are the ones who love you. So then she's right. If you then leave, then it's like you're everything was stripped of you. And they want nothing to do with you. I mean, they tell you they want nothing to do with you. You're on the other side, whatever that is. You're either for them 100% and you go in alignment with everything, or they don't like questions, none of that, or you are against them, and there's no center typically.
And there's a Netflix documentary called 7M, and mama, within that group, the leader claims to be God, Godfather, and he married Godmother. There's normally SA in these some there can often be inappropriate behavior with finances,
Hmm.
there's often spiritual harm, there's often emotional harm. They build you up and then they break you back down to create that trauma bond. And I just thought it was very interesting that a part of that group is you have to save your family. Being involved in this group gives salvation, not for you, but for your entire family. So people stay in it thinking, if I follow this way, my family won't go to like won't won't go to
Right.
hell. Like that's what the person proclaims. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. Yes, exactly. So
Um,
they present that to leave the group is to lose salvation, which is so, so, so controlling because it's professes to almost be like a Christian group, but like
yes, they do.
so you did see it. Did you look into it? Nice.
I've seen a little bit of it, and I was thinking, this is bizarre. But this is the thing. Part of the big piece on being in a cult or something like that is to literally remember this, to literally not they shift your critical thinking. So you're not critically thinking where you're asking questions, you're just going with the flow
Mhm.
and, looking at it from that perspective. So when you start to critically think, then that causes disruption in their methodology. and you have to either believe or not believe. It's all or none, and that's the
Nice.
key. Yeah.
Mom, I'm gonna let you keep talking to the chat for a little bit. I need to reset my because we are frozen.
I see you're
So
okay.
so, you
Okay,
keep talking to the chat.
so let's talk about,
I will be
I'm
right
gonna
back.
provide y'all, this is great. I'm gonna do 10 things maybe that can help, and I may not get through all 10. So high demand groups is what we were talking about earlier. High demand groups and cults, what is a little bit different. So high demand groups, the is abnormal level of control over the members' lives, and they take their freedom and their money and they try to pull their identity. So there was a cult, and the guy took all their passports. And when he took all of their passports, they had no way to get out of this country. It seemed like it was cute until, well, we're going to take your passports for safekeeping, but they had control of everybody's passport. The difference between a high demand group and a cult can often be seen in the level of isolation. A cult will totally isolate you.
So, I like to use the words together and not differentiate
Okay.
between the 2
Okay. I
because
love that. Okay. Because it's a part
I
of both,
think
both
I
of
think
them.
they're both problematic.
Yeah, that's
So,
the truth.
I don't want to be in a because I think all cults have high demands,
High
if that makes
demand.
sense. And so that's where, um and I think it was like, we're gonna keep it for safekeeping, and I did cover this group. The leader ended up going to jail in Atlanta, or, like, in Georgia,
Georgia. Hmm.
for inappropriate, yeah, for all kinds of things. And so, I yeah, both are problematic, and I wanna be in a mutually beneficial relationship with
Hmm.
my religious organization, with whatever group I'm in. I want there to be, even if there is a hierarchy, it's not that this person, it has the final say in everything in my life, because they often get to the point where they control what you eat, when you sleep, that they are controlling your money. They're controlling every aspect of your life.
And one of the things that can really cause you to be deeper in a mind control or a cult is have sleep deprivation. So one of the things that people do is they have you work, let's say eight, not, I want to say 8 hours, 12, 24 out of 24 hours in a day, they'll have you work 20.
Yeah.
So all you have time to do is to sleep and get back up and start. But they give you sleep deprivation, so you're not thinking logically or anything like that, and it helps make the control a little bit more intense, and it causes problems. Go ahead, Patrice.
And let's also talk about, the cult-like or high demand or high control nature that can sometimes happen in a DV situation or
Mhm.
in a family, because I think that makes it harder to leave when maybe it's somebody in a relationship and they don't have anywhere else to live. Like, yes, this person is controlling all of the finances. They are. And so, like, to leave a situation like that, the deprogramming that you literally have to do to find yourself again, because I've seen so many people beat themselves up for, how did I let it get this bad? How did I let myself get into this situation? And once again, the person typically doesn't show these signs day 1. It's normally day 300. Like, it's normally after you're already hooked. And they often use what we call love bombing, where the beginning
Mhm.
is like, "You are the best ever. They are so glad to have you there." "Oh my gosh, you are the part that's gonna help us meet this mission," or, "You saved me. Like, you're the reason why I wanna, like, live." I don't know, like, it normally gets very, very big. Very, very big. So what are
And
you
the
gonna say?
bad thing is, when it gets big, it also, just like it gets big and causes you to be for your ego to grow and everything. They're controlling how large it is. So when they come and pop the balloon, it's like it's like being on a sugar high. you're so high on sugar, but the crash is going to happen. And so when the crash happens, then they say, "Oh, I saved you. I saved you." And then it goes back and you think, wow, but it's playing a mind game. It's playing and it's putting you in a cycle of actual a negative cycle. And it causes your brain to like what's going on and all of that. So it makes a huge difference in your steps forward. Uh, but the wonderful thing I like about this is that no matter how far a person can get in, there is a way out.
Yes.
But is it
And
easy? No.
no. For anyone that's joining, this is Mama Johnny. This is my real life mother. And somebody said earlier that we have the same facial expressions. She's the reason why you can see exactly what I'm thinking on my face. Like we do. I look like my dad, I act just like my mom. We are two peas in a pod. She is one of my absolute best friends. I am hers as well. I reminded her of that the other day. And so but in like a healthy and like a positive way. But, I like that we're talking about that there is hope, but it's the person's decision, and I think that's what's hard. They have to decide to start that journey of breaking free.
And I like what Wendy said is that the emotional part is the part that's difficult, right? This is what I would like to share with everybody is that emotions are a feeling, and feelings we can, notice what I said, we can control. I didn't say it was easy. I didn't say any of that. We do have the capacity and the capability to deal with that. And sometimes we need help with self control and self discipline as it comes with our emotions. However, emotions is a feeling, and that is the powerful piece. So they tap into real feelings and then they shift you and jerk you around because all of that matters. And so they tap into that deep place of a need or desire to be accepted, to be loved, to be a
Yes.
part of a group, all of those pieces. And when they find out what your weakest link is, that's what they offer.
Yes. And we have a great question. So within the 7M documentary, it's Miranda is the one that I believe is still connected to 7M. And she's come out and said, I am not in a cult. Like that's what she's come forward and said. She does not believe the allegations. She does not believe the things that have come forward. And these are all allegations. Of course, the individual involved, the guy that runs 7M, he denies everything. Her sister, I believe, is Melanie. So help me y'all in the chat if I got the names flip-flopped or switched. But Miranda was the one that was invited into the group and her sister was not. And they
Mhm.
separated the two of them. And it was interesting that the show had a situation with the two other sisters where one sister left and the other sister stayed. And the reason why the one sister stayed was because she thought she was still going to have the salvation for her family. And I think that this group adds a dynamic that I don't often see, where it's like if you leave, you're damned. Like you and your family, not just you. And so I think that's what makes it more difficult for an individual to leave a group like this. And then these types of groups have gotten smarter where they often
Mhm.
let people watch. They train them on like, "Oh, this is what a cult is and this is why we're not a cult." They do this confirmation bias where they present them because like if we were a cult, would we give this information to you? You but the Twin Flames universe one did, and it was in learning and going through some of these different shows and these different, documentaries, and I'm glad that they are bringing light to a lot of this because with so much communication happening online, there is this risk of individuals that are these charismatic leaders that can pull people into situations like this. With the internet, they have a much larger reach. And so that's why, like, we all just have to be on the lookout. And the biggest issue is, if you do know somebody that's in a situation like this, telling them that they're in a cult make drives them deeper into it.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd like to add, if I may, is that when you're looking at the situation, remember that one of the things that can happen is they come in and they get a ceremony or something to change their name.
And, like,
Because,
sometimes physical appearance.
yes, because they don't want you to recognize, they want you to literally shift in such a way that we have recreated this other you, this better version of you, right? So they do that intentionally because, and then they bring you in deeper and deeper and deeper, and then your entire worth, your entire value, they change your routine, they do all of these things to kick you off of the system that you were. So you said, Johnny, what is one of the things anybody can do to see if they're connected too deeply to any system or organization? Break away for a week or two. Shut down your phone. Don't listen. Don't look at this, whatever it is. Step away for it from a week or two and see what happens. Because part of what they're doing is they need to feed you all the time. They need to
Yes.
continue to put it there and put it in you and put it in you so that your brain, because the more we tell our brain something, even if it's a lie, our brain has no ability to tell you if it's the truth or a lie. It just can't separate it. So if you keep on telling your brain, this is what's happening, this is da da da, this is what's happening, your brain says, oh, that's what's happening. So it becomes the new level of truth. Go
I
ahead.
love that you said that our brain can't tell the difference between a truth and a lie. So if I were to sit here and think about, like, so one of my favorite foods, one of my favorite things to eat is ice cream. And if I sit here and think about ice cream, my mouth will start to water. And I don't have ice cream in the freezers. Like, I don't have any, like, tubs of ice cream anywhere because I can't be trusted. I will eat the whole thing. I will eat the entire I can't be trusted with ice cream or cookies. Those are the 2 things you have to keep away from Dr. Berry. And so, but somebody made a really good comment, and Lisa had the perfect response, and I want us to talk about it. Twin Flames, that group, Twin Flames universe was weird to me. How did these vanilla personalities grow so much power over people? And then Lisa said it, people are craving real connections, and it's unfortunate that they end up being manipulated, because I think we don't have authentic connections can be hard to find. And when you have a group that says, we accept you unconditionally, exactly the way you are. And some people are coming from difficult families or difficult, but not everybody. Some people are coming from loving families. But this group is offering them a validation and affirmation and answers to questions that maybe they never got those things answered anywhere else. And so, I think that's what can happen here.
Yeah, because right now, and everybody knows this, we have become so high tech, but we become low touch.
Ah,
I'm gonna
I
say it
like that.
again. We become really high tech, but we become really low touch. We consider people friends on Facebook. We don't know anything about them. We don't know their truth. We don't, but we call them friends. So then when I look at a friend and this stuff happens to me on social media, I'm saying, but they did all of this to me. I thought they were my friend. So we have to be careful by redefining words that used to have a really heavy value that now we're using very loosely, and that really doesn't define, or we're redefining what it means. So what I tell people is this, even with artificial intelligence, I said artificial intelligence is AI, right? So I said AI do not does not equal AI. And mine is artificial intelligence does not equal authentic interaction. Artificial intelligence does not equal authentic interactions. And we have to find a space safe with a group, safe, that we can interact and we can enjoy and all of that. And it's very important because we were created for touch
We
and
are,
people
we
need
are.
good touches. Yes, yes, and
And
hugs and all of
there
that.
is and there's something called cuddle therapy, and it's not available everywhere, but there is a type of therapy that is just touch. So I personally, I've mentioned it here before, my mom will also tell you, I am not a, like, snuggly so, like, even now with my child, I will because, like, I want that attachment, I want him to be healthy. But, like, with with my partner in the summer, like, if he tries to come, it's like, "Hey, you're so hot." And he's like, "Oh, get away." Like, that's just I like my boundaries. I like my personal space, and I do need touch. I do need that. In session with clients, because I work with people who have had their boundaries violated, I do not provide touch in therapy. I will give them a weighted blanket. So I have a weighted blanket in my office. I have, if I'm working with a child and they need comfort, I will go and get their parent to come in and comfort them. Because the other thing I don't want to do, especially with a child or with a client, is for me to be the only one that ever comforts them. Because at some point, our therapeutic relationship might end and I don't want them to lose the only, like so I try to encourage safe connections if they can build them outside of therapy as well. I wanna talk about denial
Mm,
because denial is a defense mechanism that's often used to avoid facing difficult emotions or uncomfortable truths. And I'm getting this. This was generated by Google AI, but it's true. Like every word of this is true. It can involve blocking out external events or circumstances or denying the consequences of reality. For example, someone might deny the reality of a loved one's terminal diagnosis or to avoid intolerable thoughts or feelings. And so denial is a way that people cope sometimes.
wow. And then when you look at how to validate what's truth,
Mm,
because when you look at that and you look at what is the reason that this person is telling me this, what do they get out of it?
true.
Like when you look at the news or whatever and they regurgitate it like a cow 15 times and you hear the same news over and over and over and
All
over
day.
again,
Mhm.
all day, every day, that started from 9/11. We
Yeah.
didn't used to have 24-hour news,
It used to
but
go
they
off.
got it. It used to go off and it
It
still
used to
does
go
need
off.
to, but you need to cut it off, right? Because when you keep on hearing that, then you start believing the world's going, yeah, this is happening and we're in the middle of this and all of that. But when you go back and you research the source, what is the benefit to the source? And then you cross check facts. Look at the facts of the matter. Don't look at our opinions because a lot of these places are giving you their opinions. So look and see what the facts are. And then what does that apply or how does it apply to you? Because there's some things I look at from my past or even now. I said, this is the way I feel. Go back to emotions. This is the way I feel. I said, is this real? Am I safe? Right now I'm feel scared or there's fear or whatever happening. Am I really safe right now? The answer to that is yes. So
You're
then what
so
does safe
just so
look
y'all
like?
know, wait a minute. How she's
But
stealing my stuff and not giving me credit,
oh,
okay?
what did you say that? Did you say that?
Where
I
she
birthed her, y'all. Y'all see you finna act up now. I birthed
that does
her. What you mean credit?
that doesn't mean you get to
What
steal
just happened?
stuff from my book. Felt safety?
Oh,
You're about
okay,
to
that's right. She
describe
did.
felt
Y'all
safety?
have her book. Y'all have your book.
You about to So
People's. I
my
already know
mom
a lot of
so
people's.
I am so good about citing my sources. My mom, I love her. I love her. I love her. She will hear something and forget that she heard it somewhere else, and she'll be like, "Let me tell you about this awesome thing." I'm like, "Ma, I told you
Unless I
that.
remember it. Unless I remember who did it.
It
Okay,
was my
Patrice,
video."
Dr. Berry did that. Sorry. Sorry. Dr. Berry. Sorry. But this is the deal. The deal is I read so much and I'm an avid reader and I'm always studying. And this is what I'll say even regarding this situation is that when sometimes when we're looking for something, we have to be careful and know what we're looking for, right? And then the question is, why are you looking for this thing, whatever it is? Because if I'm looking for companionship, then I will be open a door for companionship, and then some interesting stuff may come my way. But then what am I looking for it for? I'm looking for somebody to hang out and laugh and talk with. Okay, that's a difference. So
Yeah.
start being more specific of what you're looking for, and then you'll start seeing it. Because remember, your brain, your subconscious mind is never goes to sleep. Your subconscious mind is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if we leave our subconscious mind open, then that helps cults and places like that. That helps them feed us, because some of the places put music and words and they have to listen to stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the compound and that kind of stuff because they're reprogramming the brain. So we just have to be careful what we keep on reprogramming in our heads.
Yes. I love that. Um, and mama, please. So my mom, she has a channel where she talks about mindset. She talks about all things money and mindset. We like picking on each other. So like this is our thing. Okay. We used to do a podcast. And so if you want to see more of the two of us, if you go to my page and you click podcast, there are probably like 40, 50, I
52,
don't know, like there
50 some,
wow.
50 some.
There there are a ton of episodes from things that we've covered over the past
You
2
will
years,
not be
maybe?
bored.
You
You
will not
will
be bored.
not be bored. You will not be bored.
And I think we posted one that was like a after hours one or like a behind
Yes,
like
we
it
did.
was after the show
Behind
ended.
the scenes.
And we just cut up. And when we are in person, because if we were together in the same room, I would have, like, nudged her a little bit, I would have been like I would have pushed her a little. And so, like, we have the absolute best time together. And so,
Okay.
but I did just want to say that individuals who are not safe, sometimes they're really skilled at picking up on what you really want. And there are people that use that for bad and not for good. So when I'm meeting with a client, sometimes I hear their true issue, but it's not in a way to exploit them or to like it's in a way to help them heal. And once again, how you know if you're not in a safe group is if you can't leave or if things drastically change if you do leave. And, sometimes you have to develop a plan because in the 7M documentary, one of the women talks about how she made a plan to leave and how she did that day, and just how scary and how frightening. Because often there's fear involved with disconnecting from groups like that. Sometimes people have opportunities where they become sick, because that's what I have it linked in the description. A guy did a TED Talk talking about leaving a a high control, I think he called it a cult, but he talked about the
Yes.
brainwashing that can happen in groups like that and how he after he broke out because his family said, "Okay, you say you're not okay, fine. You say you're not in a cult, no problem. Just go work with these people for 5 days and let's see if you want to go back." But I think his family, because it sounds like he was a young adult and his family
Mhm.
had the ability to do that. And it is heartbreaking. So cults are not illegal. They are protected under religious freedom or like it's not illegal to start but what is illegal is SADV crimes or like so cuz the coercive control can be interesting of did that person willingly give you their money or did you manipulate them to get them to sign over their life savings to you? Like but that can be really, really hard to prove. And so often what gets them in trouble are those are those other crimes. And sometimes it's children too. Ugh, but yeah.
Yeah. And I like it. It says crimes are illegal, cults are not. This is the one thing I would like to encourage anybody is that is to leave the door open for people. And when I say people, I'm saying our children to talk to us.
Yes.
Listen to what they're saying because in and help them critically think, give them opportunities to make small decisions as they grow. Now, we will not agree with every decision that Dr. Berry made. No,
We're not
before she was
we're not
Dr. Berry, we won't. Because I don't
amen.
agree with every decision I make. Can I just tell you the truth? I don't always like my decisions, so I'm not going to like somebody else's. However, give our children and youth and teens opportunities to leave the door open to come talk to you, and then that will help with the barrier. It's not going to keep them from doing making decisions, but it will help them be able, and you'll be able to see things. And again, it's not for judgmental. We have to be very careful from a judgmental perspective because that can push them over the ledge. So just a couple things to think about. Does that mean that they get a chance to do anything they want to in my home? No, that'll be you ain't paying no bills. So, oh, okay, I wasn't supposed to say
She
that.
said
I'm
that
sure.
out loud. It was good. It was
Anyway,
good.
it was good. However, giving them boundaries in areas because there's blessings in boundaries. Boundaries is a way to help people, and especially youth, to build, create boundaries for themselves. Just something to think about.
And boundaries, so having boundaries and being able to set and keep boundaries, realizing when my boundaries are being crossed. Because sometimes what will happen in groups like this, they will require excessive amounts of communication. They want to be in your ear 24/7 almost. And the reason they do that is because if you get a moment of clarity, because it keeps their voice in your head and not your own, and you kind of end up and coming back to yourself and who you were. So let's talk about post-traumatic growth because we talk a lot about the trauma that can come from situations like this. But there can be sometimes if someone goes through a situation like this, they can become very passionate about speaking out for other victims, or they can sometimes find a new purpose or a new mission in life. And I've mentioned the quote before, but Viktor Frankl, he is a Holocaust survivor and also a psychiatrist. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he just talks
Mhm.
about how if you have a why, you can survive almost any what. And so if somebody comes out of a situation like this, sometimes what they do is they commit to talking about their experience. So there are lots of YouTube channels of former people that were involved in situations like this that are healing, that are hopefully healed, that are sharing information for people that are still in the group or that are thinking about leaving or are looking for information to break free. Or sometimes they might go into social work or become a therapist or a doctor. Sometimes their mission kind of changes because of their experience.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you take, okay, so I'm going to give you a quote. In every adversity or defeat is an equal or greater opportunity. Now that's by Napoleon Hill. To just, so I won't get in trouble with trees. So by Napoleon Hill. But this is the deal with that is that just reaffirms what she just said. Sometimes the thing that we have been through is the thing that we become sold out for because we know how it impacted us, right? And so we become the voice in the wilderness. We become the strong person that pushes us forward. There's been so many times has happened when you have something that calls you to be resilient, that cause you to grow beyond anything you could have imagined. And even with the cult pieces, there are groups that help people um, come out of and then help them through the and I would say reprogramming or to help support their process to get back in society and start doing and believing and growing. So that all of those things, everything that has happened, and it doesn't mean good things, they're all good. It means everything that's happened, you can see something in it that you may be able to take out of it that can cause you to gain some insight. And that's what I'll tell you. Just resilience is something that happens, and stretching, even when you stretch a rubber band, it never goes back to the place that you
Yeah.
first started with it when you stretch. So there are things in our lives that will cause us to stretch. And when we stretch, it's not to break us. Be careful with that. It's
Yeah.
not to break us. It's to drive us forward.
I love that. The fact that there is a way forward, there is a way to break free. And so I want to share a few books, and these are just general resources that while we were here, of course, in talking about anything like this, we have to talk about Dr. Ramani.
Mhm.
And I think almost all cult leaders, because in order to say, like, "I am God," like, there's normally some type of narcissism there, like, it's like, "I have the answer for humanity, for everyone, and everyone should follow me, and I'm gonna save the world." Like, those types of things, there's normally some, like, grandiose sense of self within a situation like that, and so sometimes just getting back to yourself, it's not you. And so, I really like this resource. There is another book, Loving You is Hurting Me, a new approach to healing trauma bonds and creating authentic connection. I was able to hear Dr. Copley speak at a recent conference. I also heard Dr. Ramani speak at a recent conference as well. And then there are books from survivors of groups like that. So Rachel Jeffs, one of the children of Warren Jeffs, wrote a book called Breaking Free, and just talks about how she broke free. Sometimes reading these types of resources, hearing how other people did it, because it can be really powerful to know that, like, it wasn't just you, or to hear from other people, or like sometimes that can really be helpful in moving forward. Yeah. Were you looking at the chat?
Yeah, being
Okay,
nosy.
good.
This is the first time, guys, I figured out how to have the chat up while I'm working. I'm special. The the reason that me and Patrice did stuff together is because I couldn't be left alone. So that's part of it. I am not a tech person. So she texted me. She said, I am so proud of you. You did da 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 da. And I thought, I am gonna learn this. So this is the thing that I'll say as I laugh about that is that do things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy your moments today. Enjoy your nowness. Don't allow your history, what you've been through, to keep on pulling you back and keeping you behind. So if we need help, notice I didn't say you, if we need help with what we've been through, get the help that we need so that we can enjoy the nowness of it. And don't be so future focused that we are not enjoying our today. And that's the
And
thing. Today is my present, and it's a present to myself. You
and
have
and
that
I'll
look
be
on your
honest.
face. I said something
So
different.
I'll be honest. So I was in so it wasn't so I sold Cutco cutlery. And anyone who's ever sold Cutco knows that it was a little cult-like. It was, "This is the best,
He
this is the
was.
best knife ever. There are no other there," and they told you, like, the exact reasons why every other competitor was wrong. We would have these training meetings. I went to conferences. I had these regular meetings. I sold it, and like I still have
Love
my
Cutco.
starter kit. I still do, because my husband has these wooden knives, and I remember that we were told, like, bacteria form in these, like you need this special, this special thing. And I sold it back in 2 was I in college? I was either in college or I was in grad I think I was in college.
You were
I
in
sold it
college.
years ago. So this is over 20 years ago, and I still, like, adore these. So that's where, like, if you've been connected with something like this, you kind of understand how hard it is for someone to break free. Because when I left selling, then because I made some friends, not close friends, but because I knew it was only for the summer. And they always want college students. Like that was, I think that works with their model. MLMs, anyone
Yes.
that's ever gotten involved in any of those, they definitely know. And so, because they do this marketing and they have this language that is really kinda cultish, and with the MLM, it's the people at the top that have the most, and it's the people at the bottom that are struggling and that aren't making a career and that aren't really able to pay their bills, and so, it's just it ends up being so, so,
Mm.
so difficult, but safe
And
groups, I
yes.
think, involve, involve authentic community that's not based on me doing and saying exactly what you think, and us all having to agree.
Yeah. The thing about it is, and I'm gonna use MLM as an example.
Mhm.
When it, when I was homeless, what happened is I used an MLM to rebuild and to get some resources so we could eat little things, so we could
Like,
eat.
so did you sell Mary Kay or something? I'm thinking you
No,
sold Mary
it was Amway. It was
I'm
Amway.
like,
Yeah, but my parents had went through and they become leaders and directs and all that. My aunt was a diamond, so I saw it. So this is the thing, and we have to be careful about anything like that. Is that what? How is it serving you when you go into something? Set an intention. What do you want out of it? How is it going to help you grow or get whatever that thing is, whatever it is? And then, but like Patricia said, she said she knew it was only for the summer, right? So then, how are they treating each other? What is the value add to your life? Hear me, the value add to your life, not theirs. The value add to your life. What's going on? Because we can utilize a lot of different venues to get to some goals that we have. We just have to be careful and intentional.
and I think we have to admit that groups like this often have something positive. There is, like, it's not all evil. So there is this spectrum,
Exactly.
and like, the person might have some legit points. There might be some positive things that they are saying or doing, and that's what sometimes gets people hooked into some of the other then starts getting more controlling. It starts to get worse and worse and gets to an unsafe place, but,
Okay, so
um
this is my final. She's gonna say, and every lie is an element of truth. And
that's
every lie
deception.
is an element of truth. It's because that's deception. If I told you that something else, it would be different. But if I told you something that had an element of truth, our brain attaches to the truth, and then we start stretching out. Oh, they must be, yeah. So just be careful with
And the more your brain gets used to it, I think the harder it gets to identify the lie. It starts to feel
that.
more and
That's
more
right.
like truth, especially as you start to get deeper and believe it more and start investing more of your time and your energy and your resources. I think that can definitely happen. And so I do want to say that there is hope to break free, but it is that person's choice, and they have to break free of the communication with the individual. So when we talk about the adult Daybell children, I do hope that and that this will be their decision if they decide to break contact with Chad Daybell, with their father, which would be extremely painful because they have lost their mother, like and he's charged with her murder, but in order for them to heal, I think they have to limit communication with him, and I don't know if some people will, and that has to be their choice. It just has to be, and, people will have, like, concerns, and I do hope that he's not still, but I could imagine that he still has problematic thoughts, problematic beliefs, and by the nature of him being in maximum security, it might limit some of his communication. There may be certain restrictions that are placed, but the way that you break free is by not having them in your ear all the time. And I've been so moved by hearing children, even adult children that have had to testify against a parent or against a sibling or having to testify against someone that you love, that can be very, very painful. And often our brains want to remember them the way we do them and maybe not the way the evidence is portraying them. And it can be very, very hard to break free from that. Were you going to add anything?
No, I'm just, just a privilege to be here with y'all. And 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 talk about this a very important subject that can be in anything, whether it be in ministry, whether it be just make sure that we're checking things out for ourselves. Um, just continue to grow and not be in a vacuum and build relationships with people that are authentic and connect and get connections. That's the only thing I would say as we close for truth.
All right. So thank you all so much for joining. If y'all have specific topics that y'all would like for Mama to come on and talk about, because I am committed to bringing her onto the channel once a month. So for July, if y'all have things that y'all would like for us to cover, last month, if you missed last month in May, we talked about our mother daughter relationship and just kind of because no parent is perfect. And she was extremely vulnerable and she let us talk about the things that she knows that she would do different. I do hope that have a similar relationship with my son, where once he is an adult, if he ever did want to talk about, hey, like to me that I could have done some things different, just the things that he might want to do different within his relationship. And so I know y'all love it when y'all get to hear me parent him and then y'all get to see her, parent me, and then also she lets me pick on her a little, but it's always in love. It's always in love. And so did you give your closing thoughts? We close 5 times. This is only number 2. I'm just joking. I was making sure that you were done, making sure nothing else came up.
No,
Shit, I
I
told
don't
y'all.
think so. I think I'm
Okay,
good.
good.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Thank y'all so much. Thank
Her
you.
specialties are money and mindset. Like those are
Yeah.
her 2 huge things, and I truly appreciate her perspective. She is so wise, and so she is where I get it from. Ever since I was a really little kid, she used to just let me sit in adult conversations and she would let me contribute. So it wasn't a kids are to be seen and not heard. Like I had opinions at 9. I was like, wait a minute, I think I had
She was
opinions.
running things at night. Matter
I
of fact,
thought
I
I
had an
was.
organization. I had an organization that had 52 people working for me, right? And so she would,
Working for us.
yeah, that's how she felt. She said it working for us. So she would sit at the chair and she would tell people, "This isn't right," and they would laugh, and then we pull
Well,
it up, and they said, "Oh my gosh, it's not right." So this is again encourage your children, help them understand the value of respect. However, don't silence their voice, because if we silence their voice as parents, they will find somebody to listen.
that's why I wanna make it very hard for my kid to be enticed by a cult. Like, make it
Yeah,
make it really hard. And not that anyone that ends up in one that they didn't have that, like, it's not, like, it's that is not the thing, but, I want to have a safe, well-rooted relationship. And I thank you all for being here. I can
Yeah,
see
3
Dr.
years
Barry
old, she
needing
did. Yeah, I did. Really, Elaine, smack on. Smack on. Whole conversation, an opinion with
and
information and not just opinion, but she had proof on some stuff.
And if y'all could meet my mini me, but I keep him off the channel. I'm not comfortable having him here, but trust and believe. Once little one is older, and he understands YouTube, and if his father and I agree to ever have him on, but he is Patrice and he's Johnny, so I'm Johnny 2.0, and then he's Patrice 2.0, and so I love it. But I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, guys.